I want to know exactly how good this team is going to be. It's Oklahoma City.
Yep.
The first team that I am excited to watch this season is Oklahoma City. And I think you also had Oklahoma City on your list,
I
correct?
did. Yeah, I did. 100%.
So they have a lot of new pieces for a team that we're all expecting to be this like 55 plus win borderline, juggernaut potential on both ends of the court with a top 3 player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and having added 2 of the top, frankly, 15 defenders in the NBA last season in Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso, a team that was already quite successful defensively with Lou Dort and Chet Holmgren, also fitting certainly within that top 20-ish, top 15-ish defenders conversation last season as well. You have all of these great pieces. You have Jalen Williams coming in and continuing to take steps forward and forward and forward, an incredibly hard worker. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander looks like he's going to continue to be a top 3 player in the league. Chet Holmgren looks like he is the next star center who will be a, 5+ time, 7+ time all-star in the league, along with Victor Wembanyama in the Western Conference. But it's a lot of pieces, right? Like, it's a lot of random stuff coming together here that we need to figure out a little bit. We need to kind of run through and understand how all these pieces are going to fit together, right?
Yeah, I mean, my question immediately is like, what do they end up doing with the starting lineup? You paid Hartenstein $30 million a year. Does he start? I mean, we talked about all the Josh Giddey stuff. Josh Giddey started 80 games last year for this team. So that, as excited as we are about their offseason and all of that, and as much as people talked about Giddey not being able to space the floor, Hartenstein doesn't space the floor either. Now he does a whole bunch of other things that this team absolutely needs. But so how does that look if him and Shed are on the floor together? I'm not necessarily worried about it, but that's still a non-floor spacer on a team that really values dribble, pass, and shoot. So what do they do with the starting lineup? Do they guys go in and out? Do they go smaller with Caruso? How much time does that then leave for Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins and Cason Wallace? Who is the big guys off the bench between Kenrick Williams and the other Jalen Williams? Does the J-Dub take a step forward? So I'm excited about this team. I think they're going to be awesome. I love their offseason. It's not negative questions in like, oh, I think they're in trouble. It's just questions of how does this fit together? Who plays with who? How does the hierarchy look on that team in terms of their role? And really, can they be as dominant as what I think they can be, especially in the regular season? Are they a 10.0 plus net rating team this season in the regular season and find a way to run away with the West that has a very deep, talented, Western Conference of 12, 13 teams?
Yeah. And, one of my significant questions with the Oklahoma City Thunder is, what do they look like in terms of their starting lineup? Is it that they have Isaiah Hartenstein as their 5, and then they have Chet Holmgren at the 4? Is it that they start Chet Holmgren at the 5 and bring Isaiah Hartenstein off the bench? Is it a situation where, frankly, they just decide, you know what we're going to do? Every time that we're playing a different team, right? Like if we're playing Denver, we're going to start Hartenstein and we're going to have him, deal with Jokic for 25 minutes a night. And he's the guy who's going to be starting, and we're going to line up match what other teams are doing. The thing that I always talk about in the playoffs when it comes to successful teams, they have different answers for different problems that you present, right? You also have incredible star power. Incredible star power is the most important thing. But I actually think that the second most important thing is having solutions for problems that other teams present based on lineups and matchups. To me, this Oklahoma City team, frankly, now has solutions for everything. Okay, we need to go small. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams. Those are your 3 core players that you're probably always going to have out on the court, right? Okay, we need to go small because, someone's going small around us. We still have Chet to protect the rim, but then we can put in Alex Caruso and Lou Dort, and we're going to have an elite level defense, and we're probably going to have an elite level offense because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is out there and Jalen Williams is out there, and they're creating shots in a floor that is 5 out and well spaced. And then on defense, we're able to control the ball and have all sorts of different lineup mismatch problems where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander can play the free safety on the defensive end. And then Alex Caruso and Lou Dort are going to be elite on-ball players against elite guards. And Lou Dort can deal with elite wings. Jalen Williams, frankly, is strong enough and big enough to deal with elite wings. They have solutions to going small. Okay, let's say we're running into Minnesota or Denver. We can bring in Isaiah Hartenstein, bring him with Chet Holmgren, and then have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and one of Alex Caruso, Lou Dort. Oh, by the way, we also have Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, both of whom signed these, bargain basement contracts this year. They look like long-term pieces off the bench for this team. And they're both completely competent and solid rotation players, right? But we say all of this knowing that there are just a lot of moving pieces here. And oh, by the way, we haven't even talked about the guy that went 10th overall last year, 12th overall, I'm sorry, in Cason Wallace, who is absolutely terrific at basketball and who is a monster defender at the point of attack and who knocks down shots and who can kind of create shots a little bit and hopefully continue to take a leap on his end. So that's a lot of guys. Most of these guys at this point are either, locked in place like Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren, or they're guys who are under long-term contract and have gotten paid already, right? Like Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Isaiah Hartenstein, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The blend should be completely fine. The blend should work incredibly well. But it's a lot of new shit to figure out for a team that we're all just expecting is going to come in and win 55 games. Look, to be clear, this is my pick to win the title coming into the year. I don't think that I've hid that really. But I think we would be fooling ourselves to not say that they have things to figure out early on throughout the course of their first 20 or so games.
And these first two teams we're going to talk about, I think it's a lot of, in a positive way, they have things to figure out. The next team is going to be, there's a lot of young talent, but they got to figure out how they're going to play it all and how it meshes together. With this Thunder team, it's a little bit older. They're further along in the steps of the plan. But I think the biggest question for me is Chet and Hartenstein offensively, right? Because Chet has essentially played as the 5 all last year. I know there are some minutes with one of the other two bigs, but how does that look? I'm not saying I'm worried, Sam. So I don't want Thunder fans to listen to this and be like, oh, it's going to be, it probably is going to be fine. I'm just saying I'm interested to see how they do it. Do you use Isaiah in the ball screen to short roll and then Chet is either in the corner to catch and shoot or, can cut in and catch a lob? Or do you keep Chet in the pick and pop? Or, I'm just interested to see how those two guys work together offensively because it is a little different than playing 5 out. In terms of Hartenstein not being able to space the floor. He can't exactly play with the ball like what Giddey did, even though he is a good passer out of short roll situations. I'm just interested to see how Dagnall and staff make that work if they have to change things a little bit when you are playing those two guys together. Now, defensively, I have no concerns whatsoever, especially whenever they're using it against big lineups. It's just offensively, do they have to change things just a little bit when they're playing those guys in the front court?
To Bryce's point about just like minutes, right? In the regular season last year, Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren together, big Jalen Williams, not Santa Clara Jalen Williams. We're talking about Arkansas Jalen Williams. They only played 92 minutes together and they had a 4.5 net rating, but they actually gave up 115 points per 100 possessions and they scored 119.
Interesting.
Jalen Williams from Arkansas is like a drastically different player than what Isaiah Hartenstein is.
Oh yeah.
Jalen is a guy that can like space the floor a little bit. He's a tough physical rebounder, obviously takes charges at a really high level. Isaiah is we're going to use him as a screener on offense and use him in dribble handoffs. And then we're going to short roll him. He has that beautiful little jump stop floater game with the left hand. The fun thing that I've been wondering about, and maybe this is just like completely me losing my, gourd a little bit. Do they give Isaiah Hartenstein a little bit of freedom to shoot threes? Because I don't know if you remember when Isaiah was a prospect, he was a guy that like people thought might be able to shoot when he was like really, really young. And then if you look like in 2022 and 2023, he took like 67 threes over the course of those 2 seasons. I'm not sitting here saying that like he's going to be some great shooter, but generally in this offense, the Thunder do like to give guys freedom if they feel open to just fire. I'm not sitting here again saying that Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be the guy that, really just goes out there and drills threes or anything. If he took 75 threes this year, I don't think I would be stunned by that. Just given the freedom that Mark Daigneault allows these guys to have on offense, just purely. I'm not sitting here saying that it would even be all that successful. Like he might only make like 20 of them or something, but I wonder if that happens a little bit. And I wonder if when he plays with Chet, they're like, okay, the way that we're going to make this work is Chet's going to play the 4 and he's going to space in the corner, and Isaiah is going to be our guy in the screen, and he's going to pick and pop. And if he has an opening and, if he's trailing from behind the play, maybe we will let him fire.
Yeah, I mean, so I hadn't considered this, but looking at his 3 G League seasons, he had a year 1920 where he shot over 3 per game. The year before that, a little over 2 per game. Now, it wasn't great percentage. It was under 30% both seasons, but obviously there was something there. And this is the stuff we're talking about, right, Sam? Early in the year, I wouldn't blame the Thunder. I think I would actually encourage the Thunder. Let's see it, even if it's just from the corner or just in pick and pops or only when he's on the floor, whatever. See if he can, just make enough to be respectable or keep the flow of the, keep it spaced and all of that. I think that's what early in the year is going to be for the Thunder, is kind of figuring some of these things out. And because of that, it may not look as good as what we're expecting it to look very first to start the year, because you are adding in some new players and I don't want to say chemistry, but you got to figure out how to play off of each other and what works best, and maybe just try some things out to see if it works or not.
And look, like I have complete belief that Jalen Williams is going to be able to come in. Jalen Williams, Santa Clara, we're talking about now, is going to be able to step in and be like the true second option as a ball handler, right? You can say that they have Alex Caruso, but like Caruso can do a little bit of that, and he's a really good ball mover. But this is now like they are putting an immense amount more on Jalen Williams' shoulders, because losing Josh Giddey and losing his ball handling ability, like, is a real thing that they have done here. And in my opinion, they have done it to empower Jalen Williams. We see Jalen Williams, for instance, like run Oklahoma City's second unit typically with Chet Holmgren. That is like a real thing that happens regularly. But I'm really interested to see, is there any sort of diminishing return on the offense by and large, with removing Giddey and putting in Alex Caruso? Obviously, there are going to be immense returns on the defense. I think like this was already a great defensive team last year. I think I would be surprised with them finishing outside of the top. I mean, they finished 4th in defense and added 2 of the best defenders in the league. I think I would be surprised if they finished outside of the top 3 on defense this year. I really would. Like barring injury, right? Like if Isaiah and Chet go down. And by the way, like here's the other thing with Oklahoma City, thinking this through as we talk about it, they have so many answers for potential injuries too. Like the guy they can't lose is obviously Shea, and you probably can't lose Jalen Williams now either. But even if they were to lose, worst case scenario, you lose J-Dub for 15 games, right? We still have Shea. We still have Aaron Wiggins. We still have, obviously Topic, we assume won't play much this year. They have that might be like the one place where they're a little bit light, is true. Like we're going out to create shots, but I mean, what if Cason Wallace takes like a big step? Like that's the thing. If Cason Wallace like takes a big step, they actually don't, I think, have many holes here. If he can like be a ball handler and like shot creator, that's like a whole different game now.
J-Dub doesn't even have to expend as much energy this year. He doesn't have to take even this number 2 matchup, right? Like you were
not on defense. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. That's what I meant. My bad. I should have specified. You were going through the lineup earlier with Caruso and Dort on the floor. And I'm like, goodness gracious. The other team's 3rd best offensive player is going to be miserable playing the Thunder, because he still gets Jalen Williams on him with Chet and or Hartenstein behind him. And so like my point was now there's more energy to go play offense for him because he's not having to even take the defensive matchups he was taking last year. And so that's where maybe there's a little bit of give and take. I was always impressed with J-Dub last year when SGA went off the floor and he was running the show. It looked pretty good. And I don't imagine it's going to take a step back.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Do you have any other notes here on Oklahoma City and why we're excited to see what they look like in 2024-25?
No, I think that covered most of the questions and kind of just ideas that I wanted to cover for them.